What's up, everybody? I just wanted to have a brain dump because I was thinking about what's happening in the camera market right now and just thinking about what the future holds for photography because I feel like photography is definitely going towards a niche endeavor nowadays. Um, Phones, as we all know, been beaten over our head with it, has really killed the camera market in a lot of ways for the casual person. And so now I think most people who are into photography are going to be professionals and enthusiasts. The average person now does not need to own a dedicated camera to take photos. Back in the day, you really had no option, right? You Before the advent of smartphones, before the iPhone really put a camera in a phone, you had to have a separate device to take photos. That's just what it was. Now we don't have to have that. Every phone has a camera, and they're getting better and better with the algorithms. But physics and dedication is always going to be the downside of a phone because it can't just be a camera. And I think that's where an actual physical camera, if you care enough to have, the wherewithal to want to have just photos for a certain quality, you're going to need a dedicated camera. And so this brings me to what's been talked about lately. What's been released is that we have a new Micro Four Thirds camera from Panasonic, the G9 Mark II, which is interesting because most people were not expecting anything from Panasonic until maybe some rumors came out. But there has not been a Micro Four Thirds camera from them for a while. They've really been delving into their full frame system, and so to really release this right in the middle of their kind of upsurgence into the full frame, especially with the S5 Mark II, which is seems to be a good camera people like. They released a Micro Four Thirds camera that looks eerily like the S5 Mark II. So this is what makes it revolutionary is that it has phase detect, which is something they've never had in any of their cameras. And then the features in the photocentric G9, which is, when you look at the series in the past, the GH was the video, the G series was the photocentric one. They put a lot of video features in the G9. So it almost begs to think that are they consolidating the line to make G just Micro Four Thirds for hybrid use and then phase out the GH at some point, or make that a specialized system. And then are they gonna update all their other Micro Four Thirds cameras for a new generation of phase detect autofocus? I hope they do because I'm a fan of Micro Four Thirds. I have not been in it that long. I'm a late adopter, so to speak. But I do like the philosophy of the small size, the small sensor, the small lenses. It really is a sweet spot for someone who is an enthusiast, for someone who wants to take better photos but doesn't necessarily need them for professional use. I think the trend for camera manufacturers is to make only professional products or very high level enthusiast products. A high level enthusiast product would be something like this Fuji XS10, the XS20, things like that, where they have good features, but they're not the professional weather sealed versions of of their flagship cameras. But they have other, and they kind of come in at a price point that's like $1,000 or a little more, and that's where you start to, lose someone who's an enthusiast. Because if you ask a person right now if they want to buy a camera and they're just getting into it, like someone just asked me today, literally asked me today in my Instagram DMs, JMT Photography and Media on Instagram, go check me out. They just asked me about getting a camera to vlog with, and their phone was not an option. They literally just said that. Phone is not an option. So I said, what's your budget? They said $250. So when I'm thinking, right? They need a camera that has a flip screen. They need at least 1080p, and you want a mic input because you want to have the ability to, get your audio, because audio is probably the biggest component of the video. And so if her phone was an option, I would have told her to just get a mic for your phone, because the video probably is pretty good on your phone. Most phones have decent enough video, and you just need to get the audio up to par, and that will kind of at least give you a baseline. But she said it's not an option, so $250 was the budget. Now, if I'm recommending anything that I would think is a decent camera that I could think of, it has to have phase detect, autofocus for video, and it's got to have a flip screen. So there's really not that many things I could think of that you could afford at $250. Now, another option would be, listen, save some money, maybe $500, and now you can get some, you can get the whole setup and get something that's just old and used, and you'll be good. Like, say, a Canon SL2 with the Roll Video Micro and a 10-18, lens. I had that back in the day, so I know. And you can probably get that for $500 or less right now. Used camera, used lens, new microphone. You're good. So, what do manufacturers think about making more downgraded products and market it against smartphones? Because I think that's a hole in the market that they should probably try to fill, because I think everyone's competing. Every camera manufacturer is competing for the same spot, for the full frame, professional, or enthusiast. And that's it. There's no other customer that they're thinking about right now. And that person is going to be a hybrid, perhaps nowadays, a hybrid shooter as well. So they're a hybrid shooter, professional, and slash enthusiast who has $1,000 up to $3,000 to spend because they love it that much, or they use it for work and make money. But what about the person who does not make money with it at all, and also does not know a lot about cameras to begin with, but wants something better than their phone? And I think there's a big gap there, because listen, as convenient as a phone is, the ergonomics on a phone is terrible for strict photography, and you don't have control. And like I've found apps to help mitigate that control, but it's still not the same as touching buttons and moving things around. It's not the same, tactile feeling, a dedicated device to do such a thing. And so I think if I was a camera manufacturer, what would I do today to snag that market between the beginner, the very, very low level beginner, and the enthusiast? I would say you got to make cameras like this and bring these back. This is a Samsung EX2F. Just got this baby. It's a small camera, small sensor, but bigger than your phone sensor. Has a fast aperture of 1.4. Has a zoom range of 24 to 80. This is old, but I think we need to bring cameras like this back and update it with things that it needs today. Put 4K in it, put a mic input in it. This also has a hot shoe, so you couldn't mount something. Another great thing about this one is it has a flip screen. I mean, cameras from this day and age, or when this was released, like back in 2012 or whatever it was released, you do the math. This is crazy. This is something that needs to come back. The beginner doesn't care about big sensors and bokeh. You can get that with this. You could work some bokeh in there and stuff because of the fast lens, but they don't care about all that stuff. They want something that can give them better quality, that they can, maybe get a raw manipulation. They want to vlog with it and take videos with it, and everybody's thinking about doing YouTube. I think you got to bring that back. And then, so this would be the beginner version of that, like of that market. That'd be the beginner. Then, if we take it to the next level, who's a enthusiast, not making money, They just want it for fun, but they like to tinker around with toys. These are toys for them. They like to tinker around, spend a little money. They're probably in that 500 plus, not 1,000, but 500 plus. I think you make a camera like this, but make it 1-inch sensor cameras. So like the G7X Mark II, the Nikon 1 series, RX100 Sony series, but make interchangeable lenses that actually are good. Because I think Nikon was onto something with that, but they didn't make good bodies and they didn't make good lenses. Now, if they were to bring that back and make a really shrunken, like what if you shrunk down an XS10 into a small body like this, something really small with the viewfinder, little hump, something small, and had fast interchangeable lenses. Like if Fuji, just shrunk their whole system to a 1-inch. Think about that, to a 1-inch sensor system to with lenses to match. That would rival Micro Four Thirds, because I think initially Micro Four Thirds was supposed to be that system. It's supposed to be inexpensive, small, compact. The whole philosophy was to bring high quality imaging in a smaller package. But they've tried to rival full frame manufacturers and make bigger bodies and bigger lenses to compete with them when they should have been creating their own market. And I think that's what good business is about, is serve the market that's underserved and then be the owner of that market. Fuji's done that well with APS-C. They own it, they are the APS-C kings. Although they have competition, they've been largely the king because they focused on it. And they did the same thing with medium format. And so they've really distinctively gone down two roads that were underserved. Medium format, as expensive as it is, was something no one would ever use, but someone who wanted to dabble with medium format, if they were a full frame shooter, can now jump up to a little bit of medium format for perhaps similar money or more money, but not as much money as other medium formats. Now, Micro Four Thirds should have been on the other side of the APS-C, where, okay, we're not as big as APS-C in full frame, and we're not as small as 1-inch compacts and less that are really small like these, but we can have small lenses. And our philosophy is that you can have flexibility in changing the lenses, but still keep it very small and compact for the family guy like myself, right? So that's just my thought. I'm ranting, I'm rambling, but I just think about these things and I don't want the camera industry to die. I'm a camera guy. I'm a diehard. I like this world. I like to create. I think as much as I am a semi-professional with photography, I'm also an artist and I like to create, and I like to use cameras of all kinds, so I play around with different cameras over the years, and I could appreciate the small camera to the big one, but it seems like there are no more small cameras and that we're kind of relegated to our phones. So I always, I've been seeking out these small used copies of cameras from yesteryear on eBay. And I'm really liking this one as of now. So, Samsung EX2F, go check it out. Very interesting camera. I think Samsung was onto something with this. Nobody cared, I guess. They got out of the camera market, but they sure killing it with phones, with Galaxy phones. That's where they are now. But they had some good stuff going on here, man. This, magnesium body here. It's got lots of controls. I'm happy with it. So that's all I got. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Peace, y'all.